This is a unique journey to see what still remains after one of the bloodiest wars in human history. We examine the World War II relics left behind by Nazi Germans in the Arctic.
The ground is made of bullets. So this also speaks to the destruction, this speaks to the violence of the place.
And track down warplanes that flew the skies above northern Norway 80 years ago. Far north in Arctic Norway, divers in Tromsø are about to visit one of the most unique World War II shipwrecks in the world.
You see it here, the water is covered with ice and the ice is covered with snow now, but this whole circle is created by the bomb. Just one of the bombs which destroyed the Tirpitz created this crater.
These RAF pictures show the death agonies of the crippled monster.
The German battleship Tirpitz, the largest ever to have been deployed by a European power, became a centerpiece of Nazi naval operations in the Arctic.
Scottish bases 1,200 miles away.
Tirpitz was bombed by the British Royal Air Force on November 12, 1944. Its sinking transformed the Tirpitz into a symbol of the German Nazi regime's weakening stranglehold on Europe. While 200 German crew members on board survived, over 1,200 died. Today, the Tirpitz wreckside is still visible from the fjord's shoreline. The divers enter the water to see what remains under the waves. "80 years on, there are still boots, wires, broken plates, and mysterious tubes on the seabed.
Which date?
It's from the Tirpitz.
What's that?
It's 1942.
Yeah, so it's 2 years before it sank.
So I can't see what the...
So the storm brought it up, you know, the storm is always shifting the sand.
Yeah, it's really good condition.
Very nice.
And we try to open it from the surface.
So it was some kind of cream, so there was some kind of oil in there. That was,
History. So it's interesting to see or touch.
It was quite a nice little swim anyway. The current around the wreck was quite complicated, no? When the current hits the wreck, it gets very...
I am on a mountainside just outside Kirkenes, and we are searching for remains of a German military plane that crashed here during the World War II. Here it is. I can see the wrecks. Amazing, wow. So this looks like probably a wing. These two are probably engine blocks. Amazing. All this metal has been scattered here nearly 80 years. Unbelievable. And this is just one of many World War II artifacts that can be found scattered all over the north of Norway.
The Norwegian Arctic town of Kirkenes was occupied by Nazis for 4 years during the World War II. During this occupation, they turned the town into a giant military base to conduct their multiple attacks on the Soviet Union from the north. Thousands of people died or became prisoners of war. Logically, Kirkenes became a target for Soviet and Allied air raids, with the town bombed 328 times. It was also burned down by the German army when they retreated. One of the major defensive positions that the Germans used to protect Kirkenes from the bombing was this hill, called Prestefjellet.
The Russian came, they crossed the fjord with boats, 2-3 places from Jakobsnes and further in. And then they went into Kirkenes, and when they went into Kirkenes on the morning of 25th October 1944, the Germans had already withdrawn.
But what Germans left behind was a system of sophisticated tunnels, trenches, bunkers, and barbed wire all over Kirkenes.
Those wires you have here is for the net, a covering net, where you have bushes and things like that, which make it impossible to see from the air. It would be a machine gun there. Most likely they would have it in the room down here. And then they are running up here when you have the alarm. And this looks also for ammunition, it can also be for a radio. And then you see they have a view, a total view here. And this in front of me, this metal ring, was very well oiled at that time, so that the machine gun was placed on it, and it could very easily turn 360 degrees and shoot in all directions very fast. And this is, as I said, it was a standard bunker, which you find all over in the occupied area. Here are the remaining of a German engineer vessel called Pionerlandungsboot in German. They had several of them in this area during the war. All over Norway, including in Sør-Varanger, you had a lot of islands. To be able to put up fortifications there, which the Germans had a lot of, they used a small boat and even bigger landing boats to supply those fortifications with what they needed and for the engineering, because they were constructing.
As the Red Army approached, Germans destroyed anything they couldn't take with them.
This part here is broken in 2 pieces. And both are pointing in the same directions, telling us clearly that the crew, they had the engine in reverse, full reverse, and been backing up on the shore, and then jumping off the vessel and leaving it. It was a tremendous construction activity during the entire war. Until one morning, it was totally quiet, and when people went out, the German had left. So they simply did construction work until the last day. Even they knew that it was only a matter of time before the Russians will be here and they will be out. So it's quite amazing.
The ground is made of bullets and exploded ammunition shells. This is a German storage container. So the Germans set this on fire as part of their retreat, and you have hinges also from crates. So this was all here, and the remains of it are still here. And even after almost 80 years, nothing grows here. So this also speaks to the destruction, this speaks to the violence of the place, this speaks to the contamination of the soil.
You should have had the smell on your film.
Anatoly is part of the local mushroom society who research non-native mushrooms growing among the war heritage across northern Norway.
I think maybe some of those came with the Germans.
Yeah. Why do you believe?
Because we don't find it everywhere. And in Norwegian we call, if this is the one, we call it snøball champignon, like snowball champignon. And it is not very common, but they have to look at the spores in microscope to find out.
As Hitler's troops swept across Europe, they unintentionally brought with them spores and seeds from Germany on their boots and vehicles. Each mushroom today is carefully registered, photographed, and packed to be sent to a lab.
I can feel it in my heart that this makes me very sad.
Why?
Because this is my home, and we can see that after 80 years it is still not growing anything here. So this is just like apocalyptic landscape.
That's definitely it. Amazing. It took us an hour to find another plane from the World War II that was shot down here by Germans in 1941. It felt like looking a needle in a haystack.
This was a British Albacore that was shot down during an attack on Kirkenes harbour on the 30th of July 1941. All 3 British crew members died. Today, their graves face the city lights of Tromsø, Arctic Norway. The Commonwealth plot in the graveyard in Tromsø contains 37 casualties from the war.
This is a piece of the steel from the hull of the Tirpitz, I think. Let's have a look.
Having seen all the aftermath of the World War II, which still scatters the landscape here in the north 80 years on, I yet again ask myself, what were all those victims for? Why did all those millions die? And why doesn't humankind seem to learn from the mistakes of the past?